Well, after a little bit more than a month, we finished out the last bits of our drywall hanging, and we've moved into starting to finish the drywall with tape and mud. We've had a few distractions, but we're jumping back into it, and we're gonna get the first and second coats done on this as soon as we can. Back up in the attic to try and get the last of the first and second coat finished. We've got basically just these long runs, top and bottom, and then that side of the little box round for the stairs still needs the top done. And then we'll move on from here. But and a water heater that we picked out at a great price. So I did like I've been doing elsewhere on this wall. I'm thinking you can probably see that there's just a hairline fracture in the mud. It doesn't appear to be back through the tape. It's just where I'd left a little bit, I don't know, heavy or something. But this side, there's some cracking all the way around that whole gable end, starting right there on this wall. I don't know. I've been working during about the earlier middle part of the day, and so the sun would have been roughly overhead, but that far side is more shaded and under the eaves, and the only cracking it had was right up at the flat level. Yeah, it's gonna be a pleasant space. Especially in the morning, but probably evening would be just as nice.
Does not have a bathroom, that's the only problem.
Well, once the paint's done on first and second floors, it'd be easy for me to get a bathroom finished.
It's true.
You think about it. Water's already there, drainage is already there.
This is true. Sure be nice to have a bathroom too.
Just look at the door initially.
Yes, we need a door.
Now look at you. Whoa. How do you, with that much mood, how do you get it to... Well, I'll just watch you do what you're gonna do. You got this, girl. You don't need me. It was only about 40 times faster than I did the lower half, you know.
I gotta be good at something here.
Just looks like you put on so much mud that it wouldn't come out, but obviously it is. I mean, I haven't had any issues with your areas previously, so.
And except that one on the stair.
There was that, wasn't there?
And you know, the entire shop.
Well, we won't hold that against you.
That might be why you're doing the crack.
I don't know what that means.
So under the paper, I put the mud all the way back into the corner. I put it on. That's why I put it on so heavy. But then when I put the paper on, I try to not actually have any mud in the corner, the very corner, because I find that it's almost impossible for me to get a clean finish that way until, you know, the final coat.
I'm gonna have to repeat that when I'm done here.
Okay. They were fine.
Yeah. That's the first coat.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Pretty reasonable first coat?
Oh yeah, it's very nice. I didn't do any of the boning out that I'm used to.
Yeah, it says 2 coats, as long as you feather out 8 inches, you should be good. So on these sides, I'll take it all the way out and just float it as part of this butt joint.
Yeah.
So it'll float out, you know, quite a ways.
I'm telling you that this is why I'm faster than you are at it.
So Casey has a theory about why some of the corners cracked that I had installed.
That's not my theory.
Oh, okay. Tell me your theory.
I just told you, it's my theory on why it's taking you longer, because it's way more difficult to put the mud all the way up to the corner and then all the way up to the corner up there at this stage of the process versus your second coat when you're doing it this side, letting it dry, and then doing this side. Because at this stage of the process, both sides are soft. because you got to get the tape on both sides.
And one of the things you were just showing me was that when you're coming in here, you're just putting on a ton of product, and then it's coming out the sides when you do that.
So that it has a nice thick back, and then it all comes off.
Because I was putting on really light and trying not to put on too much on the theory that that might cause a problem, but apparently that is the speed.
Yeah. No, I tried that in the shop and it didn't work well, so.
All right, so first of these corners installed. We haven't done any outside corners yet. This is the first one. And I splurged because in the past, that's been where we've had like the worst of our finished results is on an outside corner. We've done bullnose, we've done both, metal, and I think at one point we might have done a vinyl or a plastic bullnose too. We tried the metal with the tape on the edge, and then the metal without. So we've also done just regular 90 corners like this. So this one, obviously, it took me a while because I'm not fast. I'm not a fast finisher when it comes to this stuff. I don't have the steady hands as Casey does, and I also have some kind of OCD, apparently, that's preventing me from just getting it done. So it went on really nice though. I took my time, but it went on really nice. We were using these Strait-Flex big sticks, and we splurged on these compared to what we've used in the past. And so far, at least, I feel like it's absolutely going to be worth it. Very simple to apply. It's nice and rigid without being ultra rigid. So let me show you what I mean by that. If you take one of these, you can see that it has some flex to it. So Strait-Flex, but it's also got a hard vinyl. It should take a pretty good hit without damage. So, and that is what we had seen and heard by reputation. This stuff is good stuff. And it's much more expensive, but we don't have that many corners to where I felt like it was not justified. So the first thing with it is it needs cut. You can snip it with a scissors or something along those lines, or just razor blade it. And that's what we did, is we just took a razor blade. I scored the top of the little pyramid, and then I scored the sides, and I flipped it over, and I gave it quick cuts to cut it to length. And then we put the taper, because it has a tapered end, and then obviously you've got a cut end where you cut. We put the taper facing upwards towards the rest of your finished area. And then as you saw from there, it was basically just feather it out with a 6-inch blade. It said 5 inches would work too. We had on this side, we had a tapered edge, and so it sat in. I basically just for this first coat ran it to the taper, and you can see that there, and scraped the rest. And on this side, it did not have a tapered edge. And so what I did here was essentially just to give it, a little bit less than that, 6 inches, and then scrape. I did find on 1 or 2 of the sticks that there was some debris or material on the back that might cause a problem. So you want to get that to come out. Likewise, you want to have your corner ready and prepared. So for me, that means since you've got such a small space, see this drywall edge here, how it's got the pockets. You don't want it to be flushed and have the fine dust in it. And I also try and get rid of all of these fuzzies. The instructions do specify an all-purpose mud as the base, and I've been using taping mud on pretty much everything as the first layer, which it's BDX brand, and I don't know that it's necessarily specified. Other than that, it's supposed to have a higher degree of adhesive than all-purpose, and that makes sense to me for a first layer behind and even on top of the tape, which is what we've been doing, just to get that really solid corner. Yeah, I brought up that bolt or that plate level, and then I was like, why do I even have this? This doesn't make sense. This isn't needed.
I was wondering.
Well, they said make sure it's nice and plumb, but I kind of feel like the wall's the wall at that point.
Yeah. If you're trying to fix a wall with sheetrock, then another problem.
This is all pretty much ready. I was like computing. So we just wrapped on this double corner here and kind of learned what we needed to learn. And essentially it's just you're using a lot of mud on these corners, and the overall like tightness of the corner to the piece of drywall that's preceding it, that makes a big difference on how much exactly you're going to end up using. But it's a lot more mud is what we're finding on these than a lot of other activities, which makes sense. I mean, you're doing something a little bit different. First, we've got a shared space here. And so that means that when we do these, we're working together because we got to get both sides done pretty much simultaneously. I like saying it that way. I don't know why.
Kind of like Clark started to say algae instead of algae.
Oh boy. Where'd you get that from?
I have no idea.
Yeah, simultaneously. But maybe it's British to say it that way? I don't know. I'm not.
I've never heard anybody ever say it that way.
How many people do you talk to who are British?
Well, I watch some.
You watch something?
Some British TV. Pride and Prejudice.
So a lot of times the drywall will have notes either from me or from the manufacturer. And if I can still read it, but just barely, then in general, I find that that's the amount of mud that I like to put on. Some of it squeezes out, but then you have enough mud. It's much worse if you don't have enough mud. Oops, stray mud. Sorry. So sorry.
I'll finish this jumbo cut.
Oh yes. That's a great idea. We should have the pieces to be able to install them. Here, I've got your first piece for you.
Okay.
Take it all in here. So it's definitely next to impossible to seat the second one in on this side with your trowel because it's too big. So have to just make sure it's nicely seated as you can. Well, what do they say for when you are building not on the interior? Do your best and caulk the rest. I guess this must be do your best and the next coat the rest. Honestly, it came out pretty good. I like these corners. Casey's just saying she likes these corners. Casey's got all the unreachable spots, a second coat. It is sure hard to tell, but that means tomorrow I get to put a light in that. And I'm gonna get this thing out of the way. And then it's looking really nice. And let me just show you this. You can see it here in the light, maybe. We're using a heavier nap, like a 1/2-inch nap, on a high quality roller. And that size and larger is meant for more porous surfaces. As you get larger in nap, like you're heading from like a smooth wall towards like a brick or a textured wall, something with deep pores. And when you use it on a smoother surface, it gives you that fine texture, which we really like. And having looked at spraying texture on, we're not good at it. And paying for it is not something we're interested in at this point either. Very expensive. Getting these lights installed so we get this platform out of here. So that one's ready for the actual light. Is that hard plastic that we'd had trouble with throughout the house in the white sheathing for the wire. And I don't know why. Not all of it was hard, but it's very different than the nice soft plastic. It doesn't tear as easy, it doesn't cut easy. Guess it's just pandemic quality, Now, On this one, I put this on the side that I prefer, actually away from this wire. I think that's the easiest way to get this in there nicely. That last one you saw, I don't like it being on this side, but it won't cause any major problems. It's just a little hard to work with. Just sticking in the box, about ½ an inch. And the ground isn't going nowhere on this type of box, so I'm just going to fold that back in there. Not much. Pretty small little wire nut. Getting about ½ an inch. Box on. We're going to select 4,000, I think, to start. There's only one way it plugs in. It's a three prong. You have to match up the flat to the flat. Then it should just shimmy right up there, nice and snug. This piece comes up the collar and just screw it in nice and tight. That goes up into the hole here. I think I'm going to kind of orient it away from the blue hanger pieces. Start one side, get the other. Well, first attempt failed. These two lights up here did not turn on because that light down there was not properly wired. One of the black wires had come out of the wing nut. I was really hungry and mad about it, so I went up to the shop for a while. But now that I've got some food, as you can see, we are functional. Just gotta get them popped in again. Casey's got a little hack here. Go ahead.
Well, it's not that exciting. It's
Oh, well, you've already pulled it out. Yep.
my tape roll there, and then I can bring it up and go along the walls.
We're finding this platform very useful. Well, Casey is. I've barely used it, but she also has a friend up here just hanging out. It's a little mosquito catcher.
You can stay and eat the mosquitoes that get in the house.
Well, we're nearing the end of this part of the drywall finishing process, and it has taken longer than I had thought it would. But I have a suspicion that the next coats are going to go really fast. I hope so. Did I do something to make you upset? I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks for watching.
And we'll see you next time.